everybody, Jesse Beach with Future Ag Operations Manager. Today we're going to go through this new AF9 combine, go through all the features, functions, and everything new about this machine. So, starting at the front, few differences on the feeder. It is a little bit slightly wider than our current production machine. The faceplate is the same width though, so you should be able to adapt some older headers to it. Have a new pin latching system for the header locks instead of the old J hooks that we're used to, but we do retain the same faster coupler, hydraulic coupler, and electric coupler as before. Same PTO shafts as before. We do have our new header stops on the outside of the feeder house instead of the inside. So to adjust that, we loosen this bolt off, lift the front drum, and move the stop to where we want and tighten it back up. Still have our lateral tilt, and we do have faceplate adjust on this machine, but unlike the 250 or old flagship machines, it's not up on the top here. It's now going from the bottom and pushing in and out. Down here we got our header locks. There's two now. Have to have the header all the way up in order to get those locks in. So the way our drive line works for our feeder now is it's driven off of the right hand side of the machine, comes down a prop shaft to a gearbox on the right side, through to the left side, up on a belt to our top shaft drive sprocket. So that's still driven by a CVT that you can adjust the speed from the cab and also reverse the feeder and everything with that CVT. One thing that's new is we don't have a traditional rock beater like we've had in the past. The rock beater in the past was driven off of the feeder speed. It's now driven off of the rotor in this machine. So there's a drive up here. There's also a gearbox just back here. So that uses the drive shaft or the rotor as a drive shaft to drive through to this pulley and then drive down to what we call an SFS, or a synchronized feed roll. That synchronized feed roll is acting as a rock beater as well, and it's driven off of, like I say, the rotor, so it's matched to the speed of the rotor. We still retain the ability to reverse the rotor or de-slug. In order to do that, though, we have to be able to reverse the SFS. To do that, you need to be able to tension a belt on the opposite side than it's driving right now. So when you go to reverse or de-slug the rotor, this tensioner will come down and tension the opposite side of the belt so I can run it backwards. So working our way around the machine, this machine's got 710 70R42 duals on the front and 750 65 R26s on the back. On the left side of the machine, we've got our unloading drive. So we've got a belt coming down from our auxiliary gearbox through our jack shaft in this gray pulley, and then it goes down to the bottom incline auger to drive our unload tube. Through that bottom incline auger box, we drive through to our first cross auger. That cross auger then goes through to the opposite side and drives the front cross auger. Still retain the ability to shut the cross augers off from the cab and let the unload tube unload. On the 6 bushel unload rate option, there will be 2 tensioners for the cross augers. You can do a half rate unload. On the 4.5 bushel per second, there will only be the on-off for the cross augers, no half rates. So one of the major things that's changed is how long the rotor is. So on a single rotor machine, it's the same modules, concaves as before. You can take your P concaves or any concaves that you have from the prior machines and put them into this machine and it'll work just fine. Same 2 thrashing modules at the front, and then our 4 thrashing modules working our way back. The cage is a stepped cage, so from the thrashing area to our separating area, we step up in 2 inches more in diameter. That effectively gives us a little bit more relaxed position in the separating area, allowing us to allowing the crop to have a more relaxed position to let it separate better out of the straw mat. This machine's not equipped with a self-leveling sieve like we're used to on prior flagship machines. It uses what we call a cross-flow cleaning system. That cross-flow cleaning system has the ability to control the sieves and the grain pan independently of each other. What it does is it has the ability to shake product uphill or downhill, depending on say, the loft or the load coming off of the rotor onto the grain pan. So if we're on a single rotor, the tendency is always to overload the right side of the machine. We can actually put, or the computer can put a bias into the system and actually shake that product uphill so that the product coming off of the grain pan onto the sieves is more evenly loading the sieves rather than overloading the right side or the left side, depending on what kind of slope you're on. Still does the same thing with slope, right? It'll throw it uphill or downhill depending on what it needs to do. So that's the grain pan and the sieves works the same, but they work independently of each other. They could have different shakes depending on what's required of it. So it uses 2 pressure sensors for the grain pan and 4 pressure sensors for the sieves to achieve that. All with automation. It's all automatic. On the left side, we've got our new redesigned rethrasher. So we've got an auger coming into the feed into the bottom. We've got a small paddle and a concave in the bottom there. It then sends it up this auger to the top. There's another paddle up here, which then throws it back onto the grain pan. Over here, we've got our pre-cleaner for our engine and our air cleaner. There's also a vacuum fan down here for aspirating that pre-cleaner instead of an exhaust aspirator. Working our way back, we've got a beater drive. So this machine is equipped with a high hood mount chopper. So in place of the chopper behind the rotor, we'll have a beater. It's a fixed speed at 800 RPM, so it's not going to change. Straw comes off that beater and then dumps into the high hood mount chopper. So your chopper is mounted right about here. This is your gearbox for your chopper, so it's a 2-speed gearbox. So there's first gear, second gear. First gear is 800 RPM, second gear is 3600 RPM. And you've also got our hydraulic counter knife adjust that to move those knives in and out. This spreader frame is up out of the way right now, but the chopper's dumping down into the spreader frame. On the spreader frame, we've got 2 radar sensors. We can set into the monitor what we're looking for a spread width, if that's 30 feet, 40 feet, 50 feet, 60 feet, whatever we're looking for. We enter that number into the monitor, and it will independently adjust these impeller speeds to meet the spread width that we're looking for. It will compensate for changing straw conditions and wind as needed, and it's all automatic once you enter in your spread width. Back here, we've got our button panel. So our button panel, we can control our different lights for the sieve, under hood work lights, the engine light. We can also control our sieves in calibration mode. We have the ability to shift the rotor to neutral and the chopper to neutral from down here, but in order to put them back in gear, it has to be done in the cab. The other thing we can do down here is open up our bypass door to bypass the chopper for dropping straw, and we can also lift and lower this spreader frame. Going underneath the machine into this cleaning area, we've got our sieves, and one of the first things everybody notices is that how much larger this is back here. We actually have 4 sieves now instead of the 3 sieves we're traditionally used to. So we have an upper pre-sieve, lower pre-sieve, upper main sieve, lower main sieve. It gives you a good view of the beater up here. Unique to a high hood mount chopper single rotor machine is what we have here is a rotor return pan. This rotor return pan is collecting material that falls through the bottom grate of the beater. So the bottom grate of the beater in this case is a perforated grate below the beater, and it's catching the material and carrying it forward to put it back onto the grain pan. So it's the last chance for separation. So again, it's unique to the single rotor and unique to a high hood mount chopper single rotor machine. Back here we got 2 rotor loss sieve loss sensors. So it's able to measure how much sieve loss we have coming off the left or right of the machine. The rotor loss sensor is mounted just off the tail end of the rotor just before it enters the beater to give us a true rotor loss measurement. So straw will come up off the beater and up over into the flail chopper just behind this panel. You can see our second radar sensor on the right here. So working our way around, we've got here what we affectionately call the grain leg. It has the ability of moving up to 10,000 bushels per hour if it's optioned for that. For Western Canada, most combines are going to be at 8,000 bushels per hour. It's fed by 2 clean grain augers. So there's one in the bottom of the elevator and there's one just about right here to feed that elevator. In this area here, we've got our actuator and linkage assembly for that cross-flow cleaning system I was talking about prior. So that there's an actuator here, and there's another similar setup underneath the grain pan that is used for the grain pan side shake. Up here, we've got our vacuum fan for our stationary air screen vacuum system, and we've also got our drive for our elevator. Up here is our bubble up auger drive, and then also our second cross auger drive. Coming down the side, you can see the top prop shaft for the feeder coming down the right side of the machine. And as we work our way around to the front, that prop shaft continues through here, down to our other right-hand side header drive gearbox, and then through to the other side. Underneath this panel that's opened up right now is our header control valve, different hydraulics for different systems on the front end. Also on this side, it gives you a good view of the gearbox and the drive shaft coming off of the rotor to drive that SFS. Okay, we're up here in the engine bay. This is an AF9 machine, so it's equipped with a 13-liter Cursor engine. The AF10 and the AF11s will have a 16-liter engine. Very similar up here on the 10 and 11s, just again the larger engine on those machines. On the 9, we'll have 2 cleaning fans. On the 10 and 11, we'll have 3. Back here, we've got our main drive gearbox. This houses all our hydraulic pumps for our hydrostats, cleaning fan, any auxiliary functions that are happening on the machine. Down below the exhaust here is our rotor CVT. It drives down to our rotor gearbox and then through into that rotor. We have the same CVT here that we've had on the prior machines for our feeder drive. One of the main things everybody notices when they get up here is that the engine's at an angle. This angle is the same as the rotor. And one of the big design concepts of this machine was the ability or the efficiency in drive lines, so making drive lines more efficient. So that's the idea behind getting the engine at the same angle as the rotor, is to keep drive shafts as straight as possible. Anytime you put an angle on a drive shaft, you lose efficiency through it. This machine, or the AF9, is equipped with a smaller fuel tank than the 10 and the 11. The 10 and 11 will have a small step here up because of the larger fuel tank. This machine is equipped with a 567 bushel grain tank, but it only has a 4.5 bushel unload rate. On the 9s, you can do 567, 4.5 bushel unload rate like this one. You can do a 4.5 bushel per second unload rate, 455 bushel grain tank, or you can do a 455 bushel grain tank with a 6 bushel unload rate. So those are your 3 options for the 9s. The 10s can do the big grain tank and the big unload rate. In the grain tank, you have multiple level sensors. So the machine has the ability to count up from 0% to 100% now. So it can tell you anywhere in between, in combination with those sensors and the yield sensor. On these machines, 100% is 100% now, and don't ask me how I know. On the front, we've got an openable cleaning or cooling package. So we can open up this door to get at our cooling package to clean it out, blow it out as needed, and it gives you a good view of the grain tank. Stepping up into the cab here, this AF9, very familiar to the flagship machines of the past. We do have dual Pro 1200 monitors, the same multifunction handle as the flagship machines. A few different controls on the right-hand console, but very similar to our flagship machines. Heater, radio, and other light controls up here. Have a cool box that's off our AC system on the top left here, and then we also have a refrigerator underneath the buddy seat.